with execs around the league. AB still had 3 years left on his contract, and now the Steelers have nearly $21 million in cap hits, which is the most for a player in NFL history. Some execs told ESPN that they're worried about AB's trade demand out of Pittsburgh will set a, quote, dangerous precedent that other stars might try to follow. Shannon, do you agree?
I don't agree, Skip, because I don't believe that they're, first of all, you got to be a player of AB's caliber, top 1, 2, 3 player at your position. Normally what we get when we see players like this is that they're compensated by their team.
Yep.
And when they're compensated by their team, they don't behave like this. Now, they did compensate AB, but AB's behavior was formulated long, long ago, and they didn't correct it then. And so once he saw he could get an advantageous hand, he took full advantage of it.
He did.
But the teams are always concerned about precedent if it's bad for the team. Now, AB did what he did. He had 3 years left on his contract, Skip. But how many times have we seen teams cut a player that has 3 years left on his contract and they don't care nothing about the precedent?
True.
And we saw the precedent that they set, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the very team that this team is concerned about, with Le'Veon Bell. Play his contract out, franchise. What about that precedent? So as long as the precedent is in my favor, Skip, I'm good with it. Precedents in the players' favor, I got a problem with it. But I don't think this is going to happen because I don't believe that. I believe there are more players that, if they're AB's caliber, they'll be compensated and they won't behave like this even if they're not. This is all about AB and his behavior.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, there are some things everybody could have done better. But let's not pretend that AB was a model citizen in this and somehow the Steelers wronged him.
Okay. I agree with everything you just said. I'm always pro-player when it comes to money because they still don't get paid enough for what they do for these franchises.
3.4 years is the average length.
I agree. I agree.
You're right,
it's such a violent game. And yet, I cannot believe to this moment what Antonio Brown pulled off.
He did it.
I don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
This is a cornerstone Pittsburgh Steelers National Football League franchise. This is one of the examples that get set for generations.
Yes.
And he went up against that franchise and got out of a contract that had 3 years left.
Yep.
And just talked his way right out of town, acted his way right out of town, right?
Yep.
How do you do that to the Steelers?
Like Ludacris say, act the fool, act the fool.
Okay. And I kept waiting for the Steelers to say, you know what? Just keep acting out. We don't care. Right. We'll see you at training camp, or you won't get paid.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And they didn't. They finally just folded. They crumbled, and they said, okay, we'll give you to the highest bidder. And then he goes to Oakland and gets a new deal. More guaranteed.
Yes.
How do you do that? Okay, so here's my point on this. I'm with you. The anonymous quote is about, has Pandora's box been opened? Well, it may have. I'm sure there are other players who will say, I'm going to try the same thing. And yet, it's up to the team to bet the big money on the right guy. Right? That's how you beat this, this new behavior or misbehavior. You have to pick the right guy to give the contract to.
Yes.
So I'll switch leagues briefly, and let's go to that guy, number 2 in San Antonio, who quit on the Spurs last year. Okay, so what was happening there behind the scenes? Well, he acted out and wanted out in part because they wouldn't just automatically say, we'll give you the max, because they dragged their feet on it because they weren't sure if he was their kind of guy.
Right.
Okay?
And I don't think Popovich would have ever said, Popovich will let you rest on his time.
On his time, not
You're not just going to say, well, Pop, I want tonight off. And he says, okay.
So he was the one guy who was kind of against the grain of what the Spurs were built to be.
Correct.
And R.C. Buford went and stole him on draft night from Larry Bird. He is the 15th overall pick. And he gave George Hill and got back number 2. And he got Davis Bertans, who's now one of the league-leading three-point shooters. He's a good player. Not a great player, but a good player.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
And
he makes them
is
freeze.
Fearless, man.
Yes.
Okay, but you got both those guys back for George Hill, but you were betting a little bit against the grain because you knew that guy, number two, he'd come from a troubled background, whatever, and he might be his own man to against your grain. Like they don't have their own men in San Antonio. You end up doing what Coach Pop says, right?
Yes.
And he'll be good to you, but you do it on his
But
time.
a lot of this is the Steelers' fault, because you saw what Antonio Brown was becoming before you gave him the money. So what happens? I keep telling people, money will never change a person. It makes you a bigger, more of whatever you already are.
I agree. Same with Odell.
Yes.
I gave him
but it didn't change
What do you expect?
No, exactly. So now what you've done is that you've emboldened him because you've given him security. Because, see, Skip, I believe had they not given Antonio Brown what they gave him last year, he got $20 million guaranteed, fully guaranteed, like 19.7, fully guaranteed. Had they kept him on that original contract, I don't believe he acts up like this. But you gave him some reinforcements. You gave him a fallback. He's like, if I have to, I can sit this thing down because I did just get $19 million of your bucks. So I can really sit this thing down if I have to. They kept him on that $6 million contract. I don't know if he has the luxury of doing this. So teams, you need to be more thoughtful. But don't worry. Now you worried about precedent? Skip, this happened one time. We've seen how many guys, probably 35, get cut with years remaining on their contract.
I agree with that.
So now you take one isolated incident, and now you're concerned about a situation that you never seem concerned about when the players get cut all the time.
Because Antonio Brown actually created a new loophole. But you got to force your way through the loophole, right? And it's going to get ugly, and you better be built for it, and he's built for it, right?
It's like Khalil Mack, Skip. The only leverage that a player has is his ability to hold out. Khalil Mack could have came in and played a good citizen, and who's to say that the Raiders would have given him the contract? Because that's what Aaron Donald did. They said, well, Aaron, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. He held out. He ended up coming in. They ain't take care of him. He said, I tell you what, you promised me last year. I'm not coming back until you give. The only leverage a player has, Skip, is his ability to hold out. That's it.
Do you think Julio Jones will ever try to pull this off?
No.
He will not. He's not built that way.
No. That's not him.
Right?
That's not him.
Okay. And we look at switching leagues again. Anthony Davis also wasn't built this way, except he's a clutch client, and LeBron said, I need you in L.A., so he went completely against his nature and made waves, right?
Well, if they had done what we had asked them to do in the beginning, this would have never became public. Because here's the thing.
It shouldn't have become public. That is correct.
The thing with Julio, Skip, is that Mr. Blank, they took some money and they gave it to him. And they gave him like $3 or $4 million last year. Mr. Blank gave him his word. Julio, we'll redo this deal.
And?
They redid the deal. But Julio doesn't call. Skip, Julio catch for 300 yards one game and catch for 50, and you don't know which game he had was the best game.
Agreed.
Because he's the exact same. You can ride with that. But, man, I can't be giving you $25 million, $60 million guaranteed, and you throwing coolers all over the place, and you showing up late for practice, you showing up late for meetings, you Facebooking live. Skip, they don't even let the NFL do that.
No.
So will Antonio turn into a model citizen in Oakland?
Absolutely not.
I somehow doubt that.
Absolutely not.
His phone, he goes on a social media break like Odell. I don't know. He might have to do something.
He might not even come back. He might be. He was in Arizona social media break. Hey guys, this is what we're doing right now.
No more breaks. You've already been on so many the whole morning.
Who, me?
You always on your phone. Who are you talking to? It's early.
Who's texting?
Are you talking to LeBron?
No, I got the LeBron. I got the LeBron Bo Jackson trainer.
Good. Because we're going to talk about LeBron next if he needs some help this summer. You can get the latest.
I did.
We'll discuss with Matt Barnes next.